Hello! In this video, we start developing the backend part of our application. Let's start with the installation of Mongoose package. For this we will execute the yarn add command with package name in the terminal. Now we need to connect Mongoose to our database. To do this, we first import Mongoose, then we need to call the connect method and pass in it a link to connect to the cluster, and an additional config in which we will specify the name of our database. We store both of these parameters in environment variables. Let's add a then block, in which we write a message to the console in case of a successful connection, and a catch block, with a message in case of an unsuccessful connection. The .env.example file contains examples of these variables. Let's start the server and check our code. Great, we have connected to the cluster. Now let's add our first root. To do this, let's create a roots directory, and in it a users directory. In the next video it will be renamed to auth, you can do it now. And the users.ts file, in which the router for this part will be described. We import Express, and create a router. Now let's add the first handler for the router, the post method on the /signup path. The callback arguments are request, response, and next. We add the export of the router, as well as exports at the upper levels. And now we connect our router to our application. For this we add the line app use and pass our router. Let's add a simple response to the request so we can check our endpoint. With IPI we will work in Insomnia. I have already added an environment variable to which I stored the base URL of the server. Let's create the first request. As we can see, our endpoint is working. Now let's move on to creating a model for users. To do this, let's create a models directory, and in it a users directory. To create a model, we need to first describe the schema. To do this, let's create a schema for the user using Mongoose schema generator. And we will create a model to which we will pass our schema. As usual, we add exports. Now let's create a global duck in which we describe the type for our user. The user will have email and password fields. We return to our model. We will connect the type to our schema and model. And now let's describe the schema. The first field is email, string type, required. Let's add a trim and email validation. For validation, we will use the validator package. Let's install it. We will also install the types for it. Import the validator and use the method isEmail. We will also add a unique rule, because emails should not be repeated in the system. Now let's describe the password field. Type string, required, trimmed. As we can see, we have repeated validation messages. Let's put them in global duck constants. Create a validation message constant and add required property. This is a function that takes a field argument, type string, and returns a string with an error message. We are back and updating our messages. We will also add a message about the incorrect format. Great, now let's move on to the controller where we will describe our methods for working with the model. To do this, we create a controllers directory and a users directory in it. We create a constant for the controller and export it. Now let's add a type for our controller. For this we will create a local directory duck, and in it the file types.ts. we export the interface for our controller. The first method we will have is signup. It has one argument, an object consisting of two fields, email and password. The return value is a promise with a user object. Let's add the missing ID field, which will be automatically generated when creating records in the database. With the pick we can select the fields we need from the interface. But we have a second possible return value: errors. Let's create a generic type for validation errors. Now let's connect our type to our controller. And let's create our method. To create an entry, we use the create method from the model. We add the returned object from the required fields. Now we return to the router and connect our controller. If in the result we have a field with errors, then we need to change the status of the response. Let's check the request. As we can see, the error object is different from the one we described in the types. This is because Mongoose uses its own format, which we will have to fix for ours. To do this, let's create a global utils method to format Mongoose errors. Let's write a simple iterator over the fields of an object. And add a type for the return value. Checking the endpoint. Great, now there is nothing superfluous in the answer. Let's now send a request with data. First, with the wrong email format. Continue without a password. And also with empty values for both fields. Now let's pass valid values. As we can see, in the response we received the fields of the newly created user. But what happens if we try to create a user with the same email again? Error. As we can see, the error is in our iterator. Let's add a console log and look at the error format. As we can see, it is different. This is the MongoDB format. Let's fix our formatter and add handling for this error format. Great, now we get the right message. The only thing left to do is fix the response code. Let's check if a record is actually being created in the database. Yes, here is our user. Let's create another one and check again. Our users are displayed in the database. As you may have noticed, the password is stored unencrypted. Let's add encryption. To do this, let's add a middleware for the save action. If the password has not been changed, then we do not have to do anything. For this we simply return the next call. If the password has been changed, we must change its value to an encrypted one. To do this, let's add a try/catch block in which we describe this logic. But first, let's install the encryption package bcrypt. And don't forget about types for package. For encryption, we will use the hash method, which takes a string, our password, and a salt. Now let's overwrite the password with our encrypted password. The hash method is asynchronous, so don't forget to add await. And also we will correct our function. Great, now it remains to call the next method. And also add it in the catch block. As it tells us, we can remove the extra constant and write the hash value directly into the object field. Let's fix our condition. And let's create a new user. As we can see, the password is now stored in encrypted form. Let's clean up our database. In the next video, we will create a sign-in endpoint. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and like. See you in the next video.